All right, everybody, we got breaking news. It's not the kind of news that we want to share on this channel. Unfortunately, sometimes things like this happen. So, whatever you're doing, just pause for a second because this story right here, this is the one that honestly completely caught me off guard. I didn't expect to see this or hear about this, especially from any of our veteran fighters. But time to time, unfortunately, things like this happen, and the people that we love and follow for many years, sometimes they let us down, and it's really sad to see the fate of one of UFC's veteran fighters, who's been in the news recently. Apparently, we have the way the story breaks down is that this particular fighter has been arrested in a massive drug bust involving over 100 kilos of cocaine. Yeah, so just let that sink in for a second. So let's chat about it, guys. So welcome back to LD7Xers. I'm your host, Shiraz, and if you're new here, we try to cover all the latest trending stories when it comes to the world of MMA, UFC, WWE, and boxing. There's no fluff, real fight talk, guys, real perspectives. And so let's get right into this because the situation, honestly, is quite dire and quite serious. So here's what happened. We had former UFC welterweight veteran Alex Garcia, who apparently was arrested in Montreal, Canada, as part of what the police are calling a major anti-gang operation and sting. So we're talking about 102 kilograms of cocaine, 5 kilos of heroin, 20 liters of GHB, and over $300,000 in cash, firearms, vehicles, and a whole bunch of other paraphernalia associated with this bust. Now, this wasn't some small, organized kind of one-time thing. It was a full-blown operation, upwards of umpteens of millions of dollars in Canadian dollars. So now for newer fans to combat sports, into the MMA, into the world of MMA and UFC, this Alex Garcia isn't a random name. He fought in the UFC for many years, I believe, from 2013 to 2018, and he had a 5-5 record, and he beat some solid competition, guys. He was a legit athlete. He was very well conditioned. He trained very hard. He was definitely athlete. Like, I mean, he was. He was. I'm not going to say he was in the elite tier of the UFC, but he did have some unbelievable wins and records. He had some notable losses as well, like against Sean Strickland, first round TKO, and but I mean, Sean Strickland is Sean Strickland, man. Sean's an unbelievably fierce competitor. But yeah, Alex Garcia could definitely pull his weight. Definitely an unbelievable fighter. And he really paid homage to his craft, his art, his martial arts. He was a force to be reckoned with in the octagon, 100%. After he left the UFC, his career started to kind of fall down pretty fast. A couple brutal knockout losses, overseas, and some Russian organization, I believe, and then just kind of off the radar, so to speak, until now. Right, and this is where it kind of hits a little bit different because every time, every time something like this happens, it opens up a bigger conversation as to what happens to fighters after they've left, say, an organization like the UFC or PFL or other organizations. So what happens when these fighters, and I'm not just talking about MMA fighters, I'm talking about fighters in general, like even in the sport of boxing. What happens, guys? What happens life after fighting, life after combat sports, right? Is there enough support, guidance, some kind of structure that kind of helps check on these fighters, something into the effect that can help these fighters potentially rehabilitate from any, foreseeable medical related issues that they're dealing with, or injuries perhaps, or is there a system in place to kind of help these people do like the basics, like, how to build a resume, how to build a really good resume, how to go out into the world and get a job and do a real, like, do a regular, say, 9 to 5 or whatever it is, because a lot of these guys, they come from, they come from all the big lights and glamour and a whole world that is not really part of the norm. We look at combat sports as a form of entertainment, as sports entertainment, right? This is nothing new. This has been around. This type of art form, if you want to call it, or sports, it has been around for thousands and thousands of years, guys. Right all the way back to the gladiator times that we're aware of, where people would pay an entrance fee, a gate fee, to come into a place like the Colosseum and watch their favorite combatants fight against one another, and sometimes, unfortunately, to the death. Now, in this case, obviously, we've got a lot of regulatory bodies and state commissions, and there's all kinds of drug testing, and there's support services within the organization that helps fighters, but most of them are helping active fighters. What about fighters who have left the scene altogether? And is there anywhere where they can potentially check in with to be able to get some free services just to help them with their day-to-day life? And so this is, so I know the Muhammad Ali Act in boxing, a lot of that was there to kind of help a lot of the active fighters and also fighters as they move on. And then, for instance, the sanctioning bodies within boxing, like the WBC, for instance. I'm saying WBC, but I know a lot of the IBO, WBA, IBF, they're all there as well too. But the WBC in particular has a program where the fees that they collect from fighters' winnings, right? Because there's a fee to also represent that particular belt and to fight on that, and to fight mandatory challengers and to be ranked within their system. Those fees are collected and used to be able to help a lot of the fighters who have moved on from the professional sport, and help them with a lot of the things that we're just talking about, be it helping with injuries, sports-related injuries, ongoing pre-existing conditions, medical-related, and just like basic things like trying to help them get back into the fold of society and get a working job, etc., etc., etc. So now that's the biggest question, is whether or not there's enough support in the background to be able to help facilitate or to be able to help protect these fighters and to help support these fighters. Now, whether or not it can be facilitated, or what kind of administration or people are needed to be able to provide that kind of support, I can't speak to the efficacy, unfortunately, of that. But I'm sure there are some resources in place, but they're quite vague, right? We're not really too familiar with them. So look, I'm not trying to make excuses or anything here. It's terrible. It's unfortunate that for whatever reason, Alex went down a different path, and it's unfortunate that it had to come to this situation where a fighter like him, who should be decorated and celebrated and should be teaching and mentoring a lot of the up-and-coming fighters, perhaps maybe in random gyms, across Canada or wherever he wanted to live, and just to be able to help kind of pass on the torch to newer up-and-coming fighters, had to find his career in a life of crime. And unfortunately for him, it kind of came to an end, a very shocking end, just like the other day. And it does raise some very uncomfortable questions about life after fighting. Unfortunately for Alex, if these charges stick, these are serious criminal charges. It's going to be a long time. He's going to be put away for a long time behind bars. Now, we do need to address this. We do need to address these questions. We need to talk about it. We need to understand it a little bit better. But there has to be proper, and maybe there is, but I'm going to have to do a little homework on it. But there has to be a better way to be able to work with people. Unfortunately, and it's not the UFC's fault. It's not any of the sanctioning bodies in boxing or in MMA or what have you. It's none of their fault. it's not their job to go and to do like checks on a weekly basis or whatever. I mean, obviously, uh, when people move on, they move on, right? My former employer doesn't keep random tabs on me to make sure and to see how I'm doing and stuff like that. It doesn't work that way, right? I mean, at some point we're all adults. We have to take some responsibility upon ourselves. It's incumbent upon ourselves to do that. But for guys like Alex Garcia, and I'm hoping he had that opportunity, that he could have reached out to the UFC if he felt that you know, things weren't going so well for him. And I'm not saying to go get his career back, or to get his job back within the UFC. I mean, that's a whole different conversation. And they have stringent rules on. Look, when they cut him, they cut him. There was reasons for that, and I can't speak to that. That's Dana White, his executive team, and the people that run that organization. They felt that they wanted to move past Alex Garcia. They have every right to do that as a professional body and organization. But for Alex being alumni, I guess he should still have that opportunity to be able to reach out for any kind of like personal support services or things just to kind of help him, or if he just even needed to talk. I think there should be resources like that for them, and I think there is. So hopefully there is, and we'll try to uncover that here. But I mean, the UFC machine, man, it moves fast, right? And if you don't have a plan, things can spiral for you pretty quickly, as in the case of Alex Garcia. And honestly, I mean, it's really sad to see more than anything. I do recall watching his fights. He's a tremendous, gifted athlete, and he had opportunities that many fighters would have done anything for. He had the opportunity to be on the highest platform, world-class stage, fighting some of the most elite competition in the world. And unfortunately for him, this is how it ends for him, right? And it really does also put a black eye on the sport. So when professional bodies and organizations move past their fighters, they also have to understand that that fighter, at one point or another in their time, was affiliated with them. So sometimes the actions of those fighters could come back to potentially haunt those organizations and bodies. Now, to a degree, right? Again, it's not the UFC's responsibility to check on the well-being of Alex Garcia, but I would be happy to know that they have services out there for people like him, alumni, who could reach out in the event that they feel that they need some help in anything, within reason, of course, right? So, like headlines like this, honestly, they don't just reflect on Alex. They reflect on MMA as a whole, and not just the UFC as well too, but on the whole sport, right? When it comes to combat sports, these fighters are very, very special people. They put their lives on the line every single day. The things that they have to go through, the pressure, the mental, the physical, the nutrition, the conditioning, the training, all that, weight cutting, increasing your weight, all of that takes a huge toll on the psyche. All of that takes a huge toll on your body, and it's really unfortunate because, for guys like Alex, it's I really wish that he was able to at some point tap into certain kinds of resources to help him get back on track with whatever difficulty he was facing. But look. The bottom line is, I mean, what if the UFC or major promotions like the UFC invested more in, say, post-career transition programs? And are they investing in those kind of programs? And if they have, and if they are, fantastic, right? And that's exactly what we need. But if they haven't, and if they aren't, then this would be a great time to start, because when you see things like this happen, you really want to start to kind of tighten up on your policies, on your HR policies, and I think these kind of support services need to be there. Look what happened with Rampage Jackson's son, and the altercation he had with Psycho Stu Smith, in the wrestling event that happened, months ago, earlier this summer. and Stu is still kind of out of commission. I mean, for him to come back, I don't even know if he's going to be able to come back as the same person as he was prior to that whole unfortunate melee that happened between him and Rampage's son. So how, guys? I mean, financial education is also very important. Mental health resources, I think, are absolutely mandatory. I know in the NHL, last years, they've had financial planners come in and speak with athletes and talk about the importance of financial planning and how that impacts how that impacts the athlete and their careers while they're an athlete, and what happens post after they've completed the career and retirement, and what all that looks for. And I think that's absolutely important, because sometimes these guys make a ton of money and they don't know what to do with it, and they're just spending that money lavishly on their friends and family and just buying unnecessary things, and then next thing you know, they're out of money and they don't know what to do, right? So if fighters have real pathways, after the cage closes or after the lights dim, in the ring and the arena, then that's reassuring. And I think that's what's really important, right? So ignoring the problem, honestly, is not going to work. But, engaging with these athletes and being able to provide those necessary support services, I think that's what's important, right? So I really want to hear your thoughts on this. It's really sad to hear about Alex Garcia and what went down with him. And there was a few others who were also arrested as well, too, with him. So let me ask you this, right? Do you believe that it's a major, do you believe that the promotions organizations, these governing bodies, organizations like the UFC, and organizations within boxing have a responsibility to help fighters after their retirement, or once you're out, you're kind of on your own? Drop your takes and comments below. Let's talk. I'd love to hear what you guys think. Unfortunately, it's a very shocking story, but it's a reminder that life after fighting can be very brutal if there's no direction, right? I hate reading about things like this, and I hate seeing fighters end up like this. I really hope things can turn around for Alex. He seems like a great guy. He had a very fun time in his career with the UFC, and I really hope things start to bounce back for him in a positive way. And I hope this kind of conversation creates bigger conversations within the whole world of MMA and combat sports. So if you guys enjoyed this breakdown, please smash a like and subscribe, and join us here in Duality 7X for more fight talk in the future. Thank you guys for sticking around. I'll catch you guys on the next one.